Da, 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 da. Okay, good morning. It is time for daily game design. Getting a late start relative to the pattern I established over the last couple months. Totally cool with that. I was up pretty late, and what I'm excited about partly is to say that pretty late now means like 12 or 12:30. That's so cool. Pretty late for me before would have been like 3, 2:30, something like that. So anyway, I've been knocking the time earlier as I go here. But I got back from games at like 10:30, 10:45. I was talking with my friend Nick for a while. I really like Nick. He's a cool guy. Everybody that we get on a Monday night is just they're just interesting, cool people to be around. So we also had some new folks. A friend of mine, Robbie, came, brought her friends, her visiting friends visiting from California. And I didn't know whether they'd played many games. So I had a really nice time kind of looking through the collection and thinking about what is a nice entry point for us to get to know each other. And then also for people who may have played fewer games or modern games to get a taste of some of what's out there. So I think Just One is an easy first pick. It's light, it's super fast to teach. There are some really fun moments, feel good moments too. So that was nice. It's one of the things where somebody, they're trying to guess a word. You give them some clues. Basically, the hook of the game is that you write your one word clue for the person, the guesser, and then before you reveal your clues to the guesser, you reveal your clues to each other. The rest of the group does. And if there are any matches or near matches, then those get canceled out and they get put face down, and the guesser doesn't get access to them. So they only get whatever's left over. So it's a really great, it's like the perfect idea where that's a perfect tension for somebody. Should I risk it and go with the super common association or super common clue? Should I just make it like the second or third association, so it's like kind of more obscure, but it's more likely to get through? Oh, I think everybody else is writing an obscure clue, so I'm gonna write a super simple one. And then you realize everybody else thought the same thing. It just makes some really, really fun moments. And it's also like the yay, like it's that energy. Somebody actually guesses it. Yay! and then you pass on to the next person. Anyway, very cute game. Had a nice time with that. Then I experimented. I tried Magic Maze with them, and so it was me, the three of them, and then Chris sat down, and then Andrew and Jesse sat down, and so we had a big group doing this, and it was really nice to try these things. Magic Maze didn't connect as well, but what I like about Magic Maze is it's probably so different from what most people have tried, and the experience of the teach is really cool. At least I like to teach it a specific way so that there's a kind of reveal of the real problems of the game as we play. So first is like, just get to know how you move, right? Get to know how you're going to move these little people around. They're not your people, they're everybody's, and we're all controlling them, but we all have different jobs. Okay, so that's the first idea. And then it's amazing because in that game, you learn new things as you reveal more tiles. So it's super concentrated on this one tile. There are 4 little pawns, and everybody starts with their super basic movement. It's amazing, like as far as a learning experience. The way the game unfolds, and it literally just opens up as you move the pawns to the edge of the tile in the middle, and then you start revealing more tiles out, which is like the mall, and these kids are like exploring. So that's cool because as the tiles come out, they reveal more symbols that you have to get to know. And so you can pause real quick and just say, okay, this is like the destination for the purple pawn. Okay, or this one is where we go if we start to run out of time. Oh, okay, speaking of time, there is a timer. We're not going to use it yet, but when we do, you gotta we'll pay attention to it, and then this is where you go when you start to see that the time is running out. Okay, take a few more turns. Okay, you know what? Now we're almost getting there. Let's introduce the time. So now people start to move with a little more urgency. You know, and somebody with experience, Andrew was the one, kind of waits and kind of sees how the time's going and then sets up a pawn right next to one of those timer symbols. Anyway, so we explore, and it was perfect because last night all of the tiles came out, so there's plenty of time for everybody to get used to what their ability is. Okay, now, and the time is running, right? So now that all of the little pawns have landed on their destination squares, now let me actually introduce the final real rules. And those rules are that we can't talk to each other. We can only put this little pawn next to each other and on top of each other's little tiles. That's it. And so now it's like, whoa, what? We have to just be paying attention. We have to be like, we can only communicate with this little thing. And it's just a cool, like, yeah, an unfolding, which I think is very, very neat. It's just a nice experience. Now, let's say it wasn't everybody's favorite, and that's totally fine. But I think in that case, it's a kind of adventure everybody gets to have. Maybe you don't love it, but this is a game, probably a game that of a kind that you've never experienced before, and I think that's really, really cool. So it's a neat little experience in a package that we can just say, okay, how did you like it? If you really like that, and everybody, you know, if most everybody's like, whoa, let's go again, that was cool, then we'll go again. We'll add an extra rule. If they're like, yeah, that was neat, not really for me, then we'll just stop there. And it's a short thing where it's just, here's a taste of a really interesting game, see if you like it. So I love how that works. And when it worked last night, it turned out that it did not hit with everybody, so we just moved on to the next one. But it was still like, whoa, that was interesting, right? Like, that was kind of cool. Not my favorite thing, but interesting. So then I think Andrew went and pulled in Wits and Wagers. Great call. We had a great time with that. Really fun time. Lots of laughs, lots of surprises. Wits and Wagers is a brilliant game that I remember playing with. It was with, oh shoot, I can picture them. The Musselmans in Pennsylvania. And it's mind-blowing as a game because it's trivia, but it's trivia that nobody should know the answer to. So all you're doing is writing these numbers that you hope align with, you know, as close as possible. Like the first one we did was the first flight between New York and Los Angeles happened in 1911. In hours, how long was the flight? How long was the plane airborne? That was the question. So everybody's thinking, wait, now it takes like, I don't know, 6 hours or something like that. And then what does airborne mean? Does that mean it could stop in the middle? So it's not counting like refueling. It's just counting how long the plane was actually flying. Okay, so now everybody's like working on this thing and they're coming up with their estimate. And then they write down their answer. And then we have the betting phase, which is so good because you don't know what people know, right? And this number could be almost anything. Like, you know, it's not going to be any faster than like maybe 10 hours, but like how fast were planes going? That was almost like when flight was invented or discovered. I don't know how to say that. So anyway, people write their answers. I didn't play. We had a full group of, I don't know, I think it plays 7 or something like that. So, so everybody puts in their guesses. We reveal them, line them up from smallest to greatest. And then people bet on which one they think is the closest without going over. Super simple. And then, of course, that main problem is just amazing. The problem being that we're trying to answer a trivia question that nobody's going to know the answer to. You might have some rough guess, but then if everybody sort of guesses in the same area, then you have the problem of like, who are you going to bet on? Because these are all pretty close. But we had wildly different answers, you know, wildly different. And that's how most of them go. Like, there's this crazy range of numbers, and you're thinking, how could it possibly be that thing? So anyway, so you bet, and then the big reveal, and then the payout. So the reveal for this one is that flight took 82. That flight included 82 hours of airborne time. 82 hours. So there you go. Anyway, super fun game. Great energy in that game, and it's a game you can't really be good at in a way. Like you can be maybe a better estimator than other people, so you might be the one who was closest without going over, so you get a little bonus. But if you just bet well, like you're gonna start getting payouts, and it, you know, depending on how much of a risk taker you are, you're using your money differently. It's just a great game. So we had a lot of fun with that, and then everybody kind of chatted for a while after. So that was really cool. Anyway, I wanted to show you something that showed up on BGDL 10 hours ago. It says, and there's this guy Carl Robinson who designed Kelp. I have not played Kelp. I've seen it. I've been around it. I know a couple of the ideas, but it's a game of perfect asymmetry. One of you is an octopus, one of you is a shark, I think. So the shark, I think, is hunting the octopus. And they both play very differently. Like the two animals, their gameplay is like totally different. One is drawing from a bag. I forget if the other one has a deck of cards or something like that. So anyway, the game did very well. And here is Carl Robinson, the designer, and he is thinking about, I haven't watched this video, but I did click on his Google Doc. What he's thinking about is fun and what counts as fun. So he says, I've been collating some of my thoughts around the nuances of fun here. So I opened that up, and I actually started dialoguing with him for a little bit, partly because my sense is that the thing is, like, fun means different things to different people, okay, and that's sort of the thing that he acknowledges right here at the start. When designing board games, the word fun gets thrown around constantly, yet we rarely dive deep into what fun actually means. So this is a tricky thing already, and this is partly coming with a background of being trained as a qualitative researcher, thinking a lot in discourse analysis, thinking a lot about what people say and how that relates to what people mean. Of course, it's a really tricky thing these days because there's critical discourse analysis. And what critical discourse analysis does, it's a really interesting field of research. What critical discourse analysis does is it cares less about what people think they mean and more about how whatever they produced, whatever discourse they introduced into a particular setting, what that reveals about them, or what that reveals about the beliefs they have about the network of ideas that they exist in, like their culture, their religious beliefs, something like that. So what does it say about them? And then what does it also say about society or the context they're in? So I think I'm close to getting that right. But it's where a lot of it's where we might critical discourse analysis, I think, is kind of the source. That kind of thinking is some of the source of where we get ideas about how racism shows up, how sexism shows up, how there are social forces, like with the words people use, that keep people. It'd be the difference between calling somebody, for example, homeless or houseless. It'd be something like thinking more seriously about whether somebody is an illegal alien, right? Like using terms like that, you could start to question. It has led to changes around saying something like a salesperson versus a salesman, right? Because then you're getting into a feminist theory, which partly, at least, it very much overlaps with critical discourse analysis. Anyway, so the thing is, we as people think very seriously about what people say and what they mean, but also what that reveals about them and the situation that they're in. Well, so I'm bringing some of this thinking because, I spent a fair amount of time doing this kind of thing in interviews. Like, people say stuff, so let me take what they say. I've done a lot of hours of interviews. I mean, compared to, I'm not like a journalist, but compared to the normal person, I've interviewed a lot. And that could amount to like 100 hours maybe. No, probably more than that, because I would include I did a podcast when I was making hot sauce, so I would chat with people and interview people for that. I Most of my research is interview based, so most major projects I did in grad school had interviews, so that might have been 100 hours itself. And then other formal interviewing, I don't know, probably here and there. But the thing is, it's a really cool exercise to talk with people, try to gather data on how they view the world, and then try to make sense of that data, try to organize it, and see if there are any patterns, see if the shape that the world takes in the person's mind is something that you can make sense of and then present to somebody else. So when it came to, here's a person saying, when designing board games, the word fun gets thrown around constantly, yet we rarely dive deep into what fun actually means. Framing the thing in this way is already a little bit like, what do you mean actually means? Because my sense is that people, that it's a better way to think about language is, rather than what a thing means, is what a thing does. So this is in BGDL. This is from Carl Robbins. He posted it last night. So what I'm thinking through right now is, yes, people use fun in a lot of wild ways, just like a lot of us we use terms all over the place, and terms shift in meaning, or they overlap with each other, or a term itself has really fuzzy boundaries because people are inevitably going to use it differently depending on where they are, when they're using it. So yeah, words are very, very fuzzy, but they tend to have a more focused like center. Like, okay, we can all generally agree that this is fun. We can, that words tend to have something like that going on, but then at the edge, they're really fuzzy. So what is this kind of experience fun? Now you get some people starting to disagree, right? And that's the fuzziness I'm talking about. So anyway, this is kind of interesting. I just dropped the link in the YouTube chat. I'll put it in the Twitch chat too, if you're interested. So anyway, I think it's worth thinking through what is fun, what counts as fun, what do people think is fun. So the dialogue I'm still in the middle of, or kind of interested in with Carl, is like how to think about this. My guess is that he's a designer. I don't know what his background is, what his job is. I don't know if he thinks a lot about this stuff. It could have just been like, hey, people like abuse that word. They make fun seem like it could mean anything. But let me think about what makes games interesting, attractive, replayable, sticky. So I kind of wonder if he went there, rather than really focusing on fun. And then maybe the next move would have been something like, well, whatever makes games sticky, let's call that fun. And I don't mind that move. I just am not a super big fan of it, partly because as I'm reading through these things. Anyway, I don't mean to criticize here. I would actually like to work with him on this project because I think words are really interesting, and how people use them, and when and why they use them. So, like for instance, number 1 and number 2, and then I actually need to get to ADRA. I do. So, application of an ability, using one's skills, knowledge, or talents in a challenging setting where players can feel smart, successful, and skillful. I can see that as fun, as producing a fun moment. Like, oh, that was really cool to like use this thing, use my wits to outmaneuver the other player or the AI bot or whatever, and you get excited about that. You have good feelings about that, and I think many people would look at a situation where that has happened and say, yeah, that seems fun. Okay, how about the next one? And then I think I'll basically be done. Number 2, beauty. Experiencing aesthetic pleasure through artwork, components, elegant design, or the awe of scale and mathematical harmony. I would say this beauty, at least defined here, would be an example of something where the feelings produced when you experience something aesthetic are positive, for sure. Definitely a feature of a game where somebody might come back. Yeah, I'm with you, Mike, and that's partly why I kind of want to, because Mike says, let's see, this feels like something that's forced for content and limits itself because of it. By setting the 25 forms of fun, you're saying there can't be a 26th, and at the same time saying these are all distinct from one another. Yeah, I think it's a really, I'm with you that it feels like this is somebody in the gaming industry who is thinking about what makes games attractive, and is probably maybe getting away with using the word fun here because, well, it's games, so let's just make fun do as much work as possible. So anyway, I actually already commented on it and said, I'd probably try to relabel this as something as something that captures positive feelings in general. The point is, I don't want to just shut down his efforts here. The main thing is, I think it's really cool that somebody is thinking very deeply about the experience of players and how you can label them differently, how different layers or moments in the game could be called something like fun or be in one of these categories that keep people coming back. I think it's really important to think that way. I wouldn't have called it fun because I don't think beauty is fun. I think we would describe that as something else. But now can you push back and you could say, well, cool, like you don't think it's fun, but this person thinks it's fun. I don't know. At that point, I don't really care anymore. But it is useful to include thinking about beauty when you design a game. So anyway, but that could be an interesting resource for you if you want to explore what makes games attractive, sticky, engaging, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's kind of neat. I'll probably come back to it because I was gonna. No, do I care enough? Maybe not. I also this will take maybe 30 seconds to do. For some reason, my game, A Perilous Road, came back to mind yesterday. So I spent 20 minutes working on a sell sheet for it, and it's drab, it's ugly. I don't think I'm committed to how this looks, but I forgot that this game is basically designed, and I play tested it a fair amount. It's a solo game, so I can play it myself a fair amount with no weird issues. But I thought, I haven't really looked at it since I considered a retheme of it. It used to be the ancient Middle East. It was based on the story of the Good Samaritan, who's protecting travelers between Jerusalem and Jericho. So the mechanic, the flow of the game is that there are travelers moving step by step along this like a 5-step path, and every round there's some upkeep and travelers slide, but then these thugs start showing up, these bad people, and they start sliding down into these slots. And so there's this little confrontation or conflict that can happen if they happen to be in the same column at the same time. And it's it's the job of the Good Samaritan to move their pawn along the road, playing cards to interact with the thugs and with the travelers. They're using equipment. They've got special abilities. But anyway, travelers can start taking damage, and they can get knocked down. And the Good Samaritan will take that traveler back to his home. And then, if there are too many patients, travelers become patients. Then they can lose the game. If there's too much damage spread out around the board, you lose the game. I think there's one more. Oh, if you take too much damage, you lose the game. And if you get all, it depends. There's a bunch of scenarios. If you get if you get enough travelers, if you meet certain conditions, including getting travelers to Jericho, then you win the game. So I think it's a pretty mature game at this point, and I just haven't really pitched it in a while. I pitched it to Gabe Barrett, the BGDL guy, but my suspicion is, I pitched it when it was in an earlier form, and he said, this game feels like a concept. And that was a good education for me. In that, and so did Sugar Shack, by the way. There was a point at which it felt like a concept and not a game. And that is a tricky thing. It's sort of like that would be so very specific to the audience, the person who's thinking about that stuff, that I don't put a lot of weight into it. But, obviously for the publisher to say that, that's a big deal, and it means I need to flesh this game out some more. Well, I kind of sent it back to him at one point, but I knew that the theme was not going to connect well with most people, and I doubt that a publisher would go for it unless they're a Christian publisher. And I did have my friend Jack. He looked at it. He liked it. He thought about signing it. He's slowed down in publishing, I think, partly because he's just a busy guy, and the games didn't seem to sell as well as he was hoping. His first 3 games, or he crowdfunded one. It just didn't. The latest one, and for some reason, it just didn't connect super well. And I don't think they canceled it. I think it funded, but it was close. So I think it's just a sense, probably a mix of things like family stuff, church stuff, and then trying to keep the other games spun up and going, and then taking on new games. I think is probably just, when you lose momentum like that, when a game doesn't connect as well as you hoped, then it makes sense that you would slow down. Anyway, so there's Jack. He was interested in it, but it just anyway, I thought to take it somewhere else, and anyway, I think a retheme would help it a lot. So I'm retheming it around post-apocalyptic, desolate world. Oh, I even say desolate right here. Society has collapsed. Scavengers roam the desolate roads. With your wits and resources, escort the innocent to the haven. But be warned, you can't save everyone. Right? So a really ominous mood there at the start. So anyway, I spent a little time on that. I don't mean to spend much time on it today. Started getting just dropping in some AI placeholder artwork and stuff. So it's a fun little game. It's actually a really, really cool puzzle, and I think there's a lot of replayability in it. Now it's just finding the right publisher for it. Probably a developer too. This is one of the first games. This is where I started using AI to help me brainstorm stuff. And I think my guess is, I'm not going to throw this, I'm not going to say with certainty, that this is the problem, but I sent Gabe a blurb that I had AI work on. Of course, I edited it, but it still reads, it was still kind of early on in my use of AI and in, I think, people adopting AI for these purposes. And he probably read it and was like, ugh. What is this AI crap? So I don't know. Well, we had a little message back and forth yesterday. So he's still alive, and we can still talk a little bit. So I don't know that all hope is lost, but I did back one of his games because he publishes one solo game a month, which is an insane pace. He publishes. He doesn't design, but he publishes. So that's why I thought I could send it to him. Um, anyway, so I worked on that for a little while yesterday. Like I said, it's a cool game. I may revisit this after ADRA. Not today, I mean just in general as a game. I might also just keep it in the background and pitch it around a little bit. So that's why I want to at least finish a cell sheet. Maybe make a prototype for my trip to Texas in November. Okay, but let's go back to ADRA HQ. So Mike, I can't remember if you were still part of the conversation. The most recent one when I worked on ADRA. So what I'm trying out right now as an idea is this. So I like your suggestion of having multiple piles, and what I was thinking is that instead of moving a pawn around, that you could just spin a card to focus. That seems like it could be really easy, really clean, a clean way to kind of approximate what we were doing before. And I think to keep it simple, it would just be, I think it makes sense to keep it as simple as discard a card and refocus the card in the middle here. So anybody could discard it, and then this card would swing around and point at these different like event cards or challenge cards or whatever. I still think, actually, one thought I had, because I also like the idea that some of them could be good, and some of them would be the actual challenges that you need to deal with. So I almost think that the big challenges maybe have like big rewards. So rather than something being good, some cards being good, some cards being bad, if they could all be some level of bad, but then the bonuses are also some level of good. Right? So like the harder the card, the bigger the bonus. And it might just be something like draw X cards, right? So it could be that because the main currency in the game is the cards in your deck, or it could be like, actually this reminds me of Kinfire Delve all of a sudden, because I think Kinfire Delve has the same thing where there are like four cards showing at the same time. Let me see about that Kinfire Delve. Because the reason I thought of what I haven't finished my sentence yet, but what I just thought of is that some of the cards in Kinfire Delve, if I remember right, they let you like complete another challenge right away or something like that. Let me see. Okay, so it is a similar setup here. So there are 4 cards surrounding a central card. I don't remember. Okay, so if you have bonuses per card, I think it would go one of 2 ways. They wouldn't be considered because everything has a bonus, or they are considered too much and it takes more analysis, and are people having enough cards to always focus the best one? Well, I think you're probably right, but that depends on the intensity of the bonus and the challenge. So, for example, if the easy one was like draw a card, cool, right? Yeah, but I think actually not as much of an issue if it wasn't real time, because then it would become part of the strategy. Well, I think having something that you might discuss a little more actually adds to the tension in real time. And it doesn't. I mean, at this point, I think I want real time because it creates more of a spectacle, so people will want to watch it, and then it also creates those like a bunch of just exciting, thrilling moments. So I think that's why we'll probably go with real time. Actually, we're meeting today, and I wonder if Sharon's going to have an opinion on that. But if you have some real decision making to do, I actually think it's kind of cool that that happens. That needs to happen in real time. So one example could be, if you blow up this card, then you get to discard another card for free, right? So obviously you'll go for this one. The problem is nobody has the symbols for it right now. So what do? You go for this one because it lets you draw 2 cards, or you go for this one because it lets you discard 3 cards and redraw 3 cards, or something like that, right? So, oh, it could also be that there's maybe one deck that has harder things. I don't know. I guess I'm expecting that. As far as setup, what I think would be nice is if this is all one deck that's just randomized into four piles. For setup, that'd be amazing. Just leave it like that. My first sip of coffee. But the decision making, let's see. We have here is Johnny just played 2 fork symbols. It's unlikely he'll have enough still to finish the right card. But if I move it to the left, we have the position of the card completely up. Wait, we have that. Let's try this again. So, but the decision making we have here is Johnny just played 2 fork symbols. Okay, portion. It's unlikely we'll have enough still to finish the right card, the correct card, right? Or you're talking about right and left. If I move it to the left. So, okay, so the card right here, we let's just say, let me give us some reference points here. So we'll just call this A for now. And then B. This doesn't matter. I guess probably A and B are probably the only things that matter, but I'm just doing this anyway. Okay. Of course, some of these would also be just like, maybe I should make a few more cards, and maybe that would help us think through some more stuff. So like, here's one with 4 symbols. Yeah, let me just make let me just make a few more here. Oops. Why am I doing it like this? Let me do it a different way first. Save this one. All I wanted to do was just make these relatively the same size. Close enough. Okay, now I can just make a bunch of cards. And then when I actually make cards, that's when the like some I don't know, basic statistics is gonna matter. Descriptive statistics, not probabilistic statistics. Were we a little hard on Carl, Mike? Were we a little hard on Carl? That was actually a little harder to say than I was expecting. Or were we a little hard on Carl? Okay. Focuses on A. Johnny discards a card to move it to D. Susie places 2 forks on it. I don't have anything that can be placed on the remaining spaces, so I discard to move to B. Oh. Yeah, having multiple challenges up at once could be a real problem. And because partly an important design decision to make is, can you work on more than one at a time? And you probably should be able to. It makes sense to me that you can. But this, I feel like, is starting to become like a weird, like sprawling mess of cards. If that happens, so I have to track what people have played since their last draw and decide what's best to go to based on what I have seen come out. Are you still thinking turn-based? Is that what's happening here? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So tricky. Yeah, because I think it is it must be. It introduces a whole series of problems if you're able to work on more than one at a time. Because now we're in the situation where, like, at least in 5-Minute Dungeon, what happens a bunch is some people will play, they'll play a couple of symbols out, then somebody else will play, a couple people play at the same time and like accomplish the card. Both of them accomplish the card or the challenge thing, or meet the requirements, and so one of them just like takes their card back, which is a little weird. Like, hey, no, I got 2 symbols on my card. You can just take yours back. And I actually don't know. I'm kind of curious right now to see if we can find how the rules deal with that. I'm actually literally going to pull in the rules here. So setup, matching symbols. Okay. Defeating the dungeon. There are 3 ways to deal with them with most cards in the dungeon. Defeat a door card by playing resource cards to the center of the table, not to the discard pile, until all symbols are matched. They don't all have to come from the same player. So then there are these symbols. You can also defeat a door card with certain action cards, like resource cards. Action cards are swept away when used and not placed in your discard pile. Right. Each hero has a special ability they can use to help the team. I wonder if they account for... to use your ability, discard 3 cards face up to the discard pile. Right. I wonder if there's like a lot of house ruling that happens in this game. Because of the time pressure, people are just doing stuff. And so just to keep things moving, you might just kind of in the moment decide, yeah, go ahead and take your cards back. Or wait. Actually no, everybody pick up your cards. I got this special ability. Well, it's still okay. So the question is, if you're only working on one at a time, what game is there? Well, it's still a speed game, so it's still just the challenge of literally just like realizing what you have in your hand and using it in a timely way. So, because they're like, I wonder how many games there are with speed as a mechanic. Yeah, it would, if it's, since it's cooperative, it would just be just a race against the clock. And then and the way also 5-minute dungeon works out is if you run out of cards, if you can't, do you want it to be a speed game? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's the real-time element. I mean, it's you're racing against the clock to... so do I really want it to be like that? I think the reason I want it to be like that... So, if so, then anytime players play at the same time, I would say all cards are lost. That can happen. I'm not super against that idea. It's just, oops, It's interesting to me here that 5-minute dungeon doesn't force that, and I kind of don't know why we would either. Well, I don't see a perfect distinction here. So let's see. I meant speed as in dexterity speed, slapjack, rather than a race against the clock. Well, I think there's just a lot of overlap there. Because it does come down, like even let's say Dutch Blitz. I don't know if you've played Dutch Blitz. I expect you might have. But Dutch Blitz... Yeah. Right. And speed actually in that game is less of a factor because you can reset the clock. There's still time pressure and you're still trying to move as quickly as possible. But it's not primarily a speed problem. It's more of a time management problem. Let's test much less processing. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Slapjack Dutch Blitz test much less processing. The game is how fast are you? Yeah, I think the overlap here is or just in thinking of Dutch Blitz, a lot of the game comes down to how fast can you cycle through cards, and that is literally a dexterity problem that you're describing. So it is a speed. How fast are you, like physically moving in space? How fast can you move? Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's also a thing in 5 Minute Dungeon too, because you are refilling your hand. So if you're slow at refilling your hand, then you don't have, and it's for free. You just refill your hand whenever, refill your hand. Anytime you play or discard cards, immediately refill your hand back to its starting size. So in that case, so do you want this more dexterity speed or cognitive speed? My guess is that dexterity speed would work better for the audience we have in mind. That's my guess. So I like presenting some problems that, and I think 5 Minute Dungeon does it very well, because you have like with the abilities, with the cards that with your player abilities and with action cards, you actually get to make choices, and you have to make snap choices. It's not just can you empty your hand as fast as possible. It's you still care about how many cards you play because you care about running out of the cards in your deck. So I think in that way it's a really nice blend, which might be, I'm curious now to think about, I'm thinking about on the spectrum of dexterity to, what did you say? Cognition. So, yeah. One card at a time may work. You know what? I was suddenly, for a moment, caught up with the idea of a turn-based real time. So the tension is, are other people going to play fast or slow? Yeah. Well, actually, a cool thing in 5 Minute Dungeon is, if I don't have cards, I just wait for a good opportunity. So I could use my ability, but I'm going to wait to see what happens. Are you guys able to complete this or not? I can pause for just a second and see how things play out. And then if people don't have what they need, then I just like slap down my 3 cards, use my ability, and resolve the door card. So I like that. I think that's a cool feature of the game. It could also mean that if everybody else is faster, then somebody just literally gets left out. Like, oh, I never get to play my cards because I'm not. because everybody's discarding their symbols faster than me. So that's maybe a problem. Huh. Yeah, one card at a time. I think that's suddenly interesting to me, because in one deck, sorry, not one deck, in 5 Minute Dungeon, it doesn't matter how many cards you play. You can just play as many as you want or as you need to with the right symbols. At least I think so. Yeah, just play resource cards. So it's not one at a time or anything like that. I also, let's see. So if turn, because I also like this image, and that is of the turns like swinging around the table. Suddenly, I'm just playing with this idea for a second, because I think at some point Mike, I think you were thinking turn-based at some point, but not real time, right? But now I'm thinking, what would turn-based real time look like? I think the mind plays into the idea well too, though not speed-based, but plays with the timing of, if I have to play fast, but someone else might be trying to play fast too, maybe I should wait. Yeah, interesting. Because the mind is all about limited communication, trying to get your numbers in order, and the speed at which you play is a way of communicating things, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I'm suddenly thinking about like what would a game be like if, let's say, we still got the timer, there's still challenges in the middle, and the turns are flying around the table, and if you on your turn you either play a card or draw a card. What would that game be like? So playing a card would be to either refocus, or it's draw a card or play up to 2 cards. Because I just realized it might be really annoying if you play a card, refocus refocus HQ. like imagine if all you got to do was play one and you refocus, and then somebody plays another one. This is kind of like, that's kind of like Uno, where you change the color and then somebody just changes the color again. How aggravating that is. So it could be, just imagine for a second that it's draw a card or play up to 2 cards. So I could refocus. So it was on A, I'm going to refocus to D and play a resource. Okay, I was thinking about flipping HQ. So I want to pause on that for a second. Cuz like in Magic Maze, I thought this could be your opportunity to pause the time. Maybe draw back up to your hand size. And make a plan. So if you can't play a card, your only option is to refocus. Yeah. If you can't play a card, okay, wait a minute. You had me on going down a path for a second. So play a card or draw a card, or play a card / refocus. So in that case, I don't mind that idea suddenly. So if it's, let's say, it comes to my turn, I can't play a card on the thing that that HQ is focused on, I could spin the card to somewhere else, but then I would just be asking the person next to me where I should spin it. Is that what would happen? So it's on D right now, and I could just ask my neighbor, do you have something for D? Well, no, because I have to change it. Do you have something for A, B, or C? And they say I have something for A. So this takes the feel bad away from anyone that refocuses somewhere that other players don't want because they were forced to do so. So yeah, I think what this would if my guess is this would turn into, where do you want to go? Okay, and then I'll spin it there. So it's not like me really taking a turn. It's more just me. That's with no communication. Yeah, okay. I think, yeah. I think if there was communication, my guess would be that it would just turn into this. So this is if I can't play a card on the thing, on the challenge card that HQ is pointing at. If I cannot play a card there, then I refocus. And I think if there is communication, it would turn into, where do you want me to refocus? Okay, I'll do that. Or where do you guys think I should refocus? Because I don't have any information at that point. I'm just getting told what to do. So I think that does not feel good. I don't think that would be great. Now, if there is no communication, then I'm just like blindly, essentially spinning the focus card because I don't have any good information, right? What if I do have information, and that information is the card backs all have different colors? Okay, you have the information of what they have played. You also, if you've played before, you have an idea of the kinds of symbols they're likely to have because of their character. So that's okay. But I still think you're forced to care most about the person next to you. And the reason for that is, if I go somewhere that they cannot play as well, then they have to refocus themselves, which then, then would move the focus off of the challenge card that that would have been useful to the next person. So they have to move it. Okay, but what I was just thinking was, what if the card backs suggest what is on you can also do some neat tricks, like if you play one card instead of two, you can flip a card in your hand to face your teammates. I do think there's something there where you can, give some information. I think that is a potential, type of ability or something like that. I think that could be neat. But I was thinking if, well, this kind of messes up the idea of characters having their own decks. Well, maybe not. So what if the color of the back of the card, it means that card has at least one of those symbols on it, or in the case where there is more than one copy of that symbol, then it's whichever symbol is shown the most on that card, then the card back is that color. Color might be a problem just for the sake of color blindness, but there could be something there. Covered by hands. Well, what I'm talking about is I mean, I'm with you that there will be some coverage, but there should be plenty surface area for players to see. Because all I'm talking about is, if medical is red, then all you have to do is be able to see, all you have to do is be able to see that one of these has a red corner, and that's it. And then also, if, if they only have like 4 cards in their hand, this is it, right? Like that's more than enough to know, to have some idea of what's on that other card. So in other words, if there was some information, whether it was revealed, like whether you use an ability, you flip a card around in your hand, whatever it is, or if they have information because of the backs of the cards or something else, I don't know what that something else would be, then they can make an informed choice. I'm going to choose where this should go because I'm looking around the table and it looks like we should have enough symbols for this type of challenge. So that could be more satisfying rather than just like a blind, like a shot in the dark. At least you would have some information. Yeah, tricky. I'm very tempted to keep exploring this turn-based thing, though. So far, let me write down some of these ideas. What time is my meeting? I think it's at 10. Yeah, 10 to 11. So I have an hour and a half. Play 2 cards on your turn, either to an objective or face down in front of you. Or face down in front of you. But that would assume that the card back has information, right? Because if it does, then then the other players already have that information. Because they can see your card back. Right? Let me take a few notes here. Yeah, but what? I guess I'm not. It's not obvious to me yet the kinds of things that could be on that card back. There could be a bunch of information, I guess. Let me write down some things. So, brainstorm. So I think I like this oh, nice. So we got people starting to really sign up for the retreat, like last minute. This happens every time. A lot of people wait and they say, "Oh, can I sign up the day of because I'm not sure about this." And we do try to be flexible, but anyway, it's nice to see people jumping in, making it happen sooner than later. Okay, so I think I think spinning the HQ card is definitely an idea that's worth exploring more, and I think it's like I have a soft commitment to that idea. So each player could vote on which target they want. I think especially if oh, by the way, I sold 4 copies of the Pathfinder game last month. So that's good news. So I just made $80. No. What did I make? $67. Heck yeah. I still have 107. So, oh no, that was August. Wait. Yeah, this is August. So I sold 4 copies in August. Yay! Super. It's not nothing, right? That's the point. It's not nothing. I think the intuition is good here, that you want more information to make that choice of where to refocus. I think voting, let's see. I think I would prefer something that where some of the information is more obvious already, rather than let me take the time to show what I think we should do next. I wonder. I think some of this voting. Well, let's imagine a 2-player game, right? Then there's no reason. If it was a 2-player game, then there's no reason not to just talk, right? Because they're just gonna they're gonna slide their little B token out there, and well, you know what they mean. Or it kind of doesn't matter whether they said it or whether they showed it to you or something like that. Voting, I feel like adding a voting system might not be that might be like too much busyness. Where's this problem coming from? It's coming from the fact that they're forced to refocus if they can't play a card. Well, maybe that's just not a thing. Yeah, I think adding a system like this, probably, just my sense is already it's too much. That's my feeling. Adding a voting system. So you can always play 2 cards, but sometimes you only contribute 1 card to an objective. So your second card play would be to set out your card. Yeah, I think well, let's see. So in this process, I think it'd be nice still to set out a couple of filters. So one is the teach has to be super simple. And so I think but if you want to do this and do that, if you want, this card should mean this. So I think I would like to, obviously this is still brainstorming, so considering all ideas on the table for sure, but starting to filter or starting to lean toward, yeah, I guess it's not really time to filter out ideas yet. There are definitely no commitments here. But with the principle being that the teach should be very, very, very simple. The gameplay should be very, very, very simple. So that will be, if there's anything, as the ideas get more complex, that will be generally my pushback. Is I don't know that we want to add those rules, because it requires a longer teach. It requires just more from the players. So there could be a time when you know, when we do want a more complex game. But I'm just gonna write down some notes here. Real time, then turn based question mark. And if it was turn based, then it would be draw a card or probably play up to 2 cards. And then it would be play a card to a challenge card. You could play a card to refocus, or you could play a card to convene, maybe. I wouldn't put that in the, but this would be to like call a board meeting, basically, like flip HQ. I'll just put reconvene for fun. So this is one option. And then what are some other things like information on card backs? We do have voting. So voting by showing tokens or playing a card down in your play area. Oh, this could be almost like reserve a card, right? Like reserve a card. So if you played it face up, you could just play it face up, and then everybody could see what symbols you have. So they know that you're interested in playing it on, you know, a certain challenge card. So I think that would even... Ooh, I like that. Like it would be something like play or pass a card. That could be cool. Yeah. Play or pass a card to another player. The longer, and of course this is still just like, what are some possible things that a player might want to do on their turn? Passing a card sounds pretty good. But why wouldn't they just play the card? Because the... Right, because let's say I play one card to refocus and then play the next... the focus isn't on anything they can play too. Well, but so this is the idea of like playing up to 2 cards. So if they could only play 1 card per turn, if they can only play 1 card, then they play it to refocus, right? Or they could pass it, but then that card is still not useful to the person they passed it as long as the focus is there. Or if they can play 2 cards, then of course they'll play one to refocus, and then they'll just play the card on that challenge card. There'd still be no reason to pass it. Well, don't pass. So isn't the idea that like you would play the card for somebody else or to somebody else's area so that they could use it? That's what I'm calling pass. Not like it necessarily goes to their hand or something. Yeah, let's say you are focused on one that only needs 1 fork. Yeah. You play the fork, but don't have any idea where to focus, so your second card can go to the table. And it may give the next player an idea of where they can focus. Ah. So the idea is, it's kind of like you're banking symbols in a way. So you reveal a card to the table so that interesting. I like that. Okay, let me and it may give the next player an idea of where they can focus. So okay, I'm playing 2 cards. One card, okay, I'm going to finish this challenge card by playing down a fork or a syringe or whatever. And then, so this challenge card is finished. Now this next challenge card doesn't necessarily have, it doesn't show symbols matching anything in my hand. So now I have a choice. Do I refocus without really knowing what other people want, or do I just take a card and like play it face up in front of me so that at least the next player could have an idea of like how to refocus, so they could look at my card and they could say, well, for 4 players I don't know if that would be super good. Well, at least considering. Oh, may give the next player an idea, or the next challenge card doesn't come out right away. Ooh, yeah, when do challenge cards get revealed? What I would think for the simplest system, it would be to have the four piles face up. So if the challenge cards are split evenly into 4 piles based on player count, and then once you resolve a challenge card, then you would just see the next one. To me that would be the simplest little system. I guess you could add a step where you have to discard a card to reveal. Until end of turn? Let's see. So I would say challenges aren't cleared until end of turn. That feels, well, for people who don't play a lot of games, to me that feels less intuitive than, oh, we've got the symbols, this is gone, we just resolved this. I mean, like, what would end of turn look like anyway? So I guess it would be like you play out your cards, and then at the end of your turn, those go away. So it wouldn't be like I play one, finish a card, reveal the next one, play another one. That's what you're thinking about. I think the franticness of the game, if it's still real time, and I assume that it is, then I think the cleanest thing would be for any time a challenge card is completed, it gets removed. Which is also, that's a 5-minute dungeon thing, except in 5-minute dungeon, there's only 1 stack of cards. Yeah, so I had this question. I guess I'm following your the mechanics there, but what's the reasoning there? Like, why not let a player complete one and then start a new one? So, like, let me see. Information on card backs. What the majority symbol is. What one of the symbols is. Probabilities mainly. I think a lot of the fun will be around where do we focus. So not being able to contribute to another one right away forces you to consider that more. Interesting. Where do we focus? I mean, in a way, it would be a happy accident that you reveal a card that you can also play on. I think that would feel really good. Huh. Well, I think it'd be clunky in real time though. You might be right. The thing is, with my reference point here is still always 5 minute dungeon. So as you're playing through and people are dumping cards onto the table, once a door is once a door is resolved, then that card just gets discarded and all the rest of the cards get swept away to a big discard pile. So if it happens in real time here and they all have their own little areas around HQ, then you resolve a challenge card. I mean, at some point, everything needs to get cleaned up anyway. So I guess I'm not sure why. Let's see. Let me play one, then gather up all these cards and reveal the new one, analyze it, and then decide. Where if it's at the end of, it's like, I'm done, you can go, I'll clean up. Okay, I see your point there. Yeah, I see your point there. So it's get as much done on my turn as I can, and then clean up after that. Yeah, and then okay, so that leaves a new board state to analyze. Right. The 5 minute dungeon cleanup rule works because everyone is playing real time, not turn-based real time. It could also be like if you resolve a challenge card, your turn's over no matter what. I don't love that idea, but it is an idea. So you'd always try to make it the last thing you do on your turn is to complete a challenge. I just realized the way things are set up on the table could also be really... I like the word clunky here too. Because where are you drawing cards from? Where are you discarding cards to? Because in this case, right, like normally it'd be nice if there was a draw pile right here in the center of the table. However, I like just this idea of like spinning this card. I think that's a neat, just simple thing to do. I think you just discard up, down, left, right of the respective tiles. Right. Well, okay, but even like 5-Minute Dungeon does this. So they specify that that you are playing cards. You're not discarding cards. So discarding and playing are really different. So I think, like, you know, obviously you play a card to D, for instance. The next player plays a card to A. Right, and the next player plays a card to A. So A gets resolved. Let's say, for example, A gets resolved. Now, these cards get discarded somewhere, right? These cards get discarded somewhere. A gets discarded somewhere, right? The whatever was A. So this gets discarded somewhere else. But I think we're running into a big mess here. I think this is like, because then you have cards like stacking up, right? So this one you still need one more card here. Right. So A's out of the game, definitely. But like it still needs to go somewhere, like, and like on the table somewhere. So let's say this is what the game looks like eventually, right? So just to visualize it for us. So now these sit over here. Maybe one card sits on B, and then finally D gets cleared. So these cards get swept off to some discard pile somewhere, right? And they get thrown away, so maybe they get discarded over here. Then D goes somewhere, right? And D gets sent over to another discard pile. Stack them in orientation. Well, I'm with you. Like I just didn't want to go through the, you know, I could do this. I just didn't want to go through that at the moment. But I kind of don't think that really matters. Yeah, I kind of are you saying just so that it's like legible that like these cards are associated with A? I also love that you just did that with characters on your keyboard. I don't know how you thought of that, Mike. That was a good one. So what I think could happen, what could be fine is if, for example, Here's a challenge card. Actually, let me make a challenge card real quick. Another one. So the challenge card would actually be something like this. Wait, what's going on? So let's say the symbols were all like listed. What is happening? Listed like this. What? Right, so they're like along the edge. I'm thinking just because of surface area, I would maybe put them like this. Hang on one second. Why is this so hard to select? Is this on the top? Oh yeah, it was. Okay, so these, right, and then I would just reorient them. But I'm just doing this as quickly as possible right now. Yeah, I can't reorient them in place. But I think we may be thinking of something similar. I just like the idea of putting them sideways because there's a, you know, the longer edge. So this would be basically like this here. And then these would all be, oh, you know what, I can do it. I think I can. Boom. Yeah. So now, just like you're saying, like now you stack them for sure. That makes sense to me. Let's throw this guy up here somewhere. So let me clip this. Okay, so we can drop this in now. Okay, so yes, so this is gone. And here is, let's just group these guys. So now this is sitting here and these cards get discarded like this, right? Where would the symbols be on these cards? Not too sure, but let's just say, yeah, would they also want to be on the edge? Anyway, yeah. So if it was like this, then you just throw the doctor's symbols over here as well. Yeah. Right. So this would look organized. This would look clean. What I'm highlighting is that it could be complicated, like the way that like after something is resolved, so then these get sent to a discard pile. This gets sent. Let me just make another one of these. Okay, so one gets resolved. What is this? These get thrown up here, right? Okay, it's resolved. Cool. These get discarded somewhere. This gets discarded somewhere. They probably all get like tossed away, actually. Probably. They can just be swept off to the side somewhere in a pile. So maybe it's not as big of a deal as I think. But yeah, so now these would all be... Let me get rid of this. These would be set out kind of like this. or discard pile face down between the letters. I think if these cards are not completely removed from the area, I think if they're not just like sent off somewhere, then my feeling is because of the frantic play, then my guess is things would just start getting mixed up. Especially if you have multiple cards worked on at the same time. So like if these were also right. Yeah. So I don't mind if, I mean, all this stuff, it would be kind of annoying to, well, you go through this for Dutch Blitz or whatever. Everybody gets their cards sorted back out and stuff. So I think, yeah, I think you just have big piles just somewhere off to the side in the corner of the table or something like that. That seems okay. Let me just make another one of these. Right, so maybe I wonder how often it would be the case that this was B. Oops. What did you do? I don't know what that was. Oh, I bolded it. That's what happened. Okay, and then, yeah. I feel pretty good about the developments here. The main thing is I really wanted to have something to show Sharon today as just a concept. And I think we're there. Oops. I could probably, oh. So I think for the purposes of our meeting today, oh wait. If you could have all 5 symbols on a card, you can play. If you have all 5 symbols on a card, you can play them all. If you have all 5 symbols on a card, you can play them all. Grand Slam sounds cool. Ooh, that makes me wonder. Like if we, continuing on this idea, on your idea of resolving cards at the end of your turn. Yeah, let me write down. So I'm gonna say like resolving challenge cards. If you resolve one all by yourself, or oops, did not mean to do that. Or if you resolve more than one on your turn. So I think it'd be really cool if you if there was a bonus for resolving 2. So what you would get then is that the group would try to set up, try to get the different cards, the challenge cards, up to 1 symbol away maybe. If you resolve one by yourself, I think that would be cool. Resolving challenge cards happens at the end of your turn. And I think if you're able to resolve either one by yourself or more than one at a time, there could be a bonus. This is starting to get into too many rules territory for me, but it's definitely worth writing down. Happens at the end of your turn. If you resolve one all by yourself, or if you resolve more than one on your turn. Yeah. Let me just put it like this. A bonus if yeah, that's cool. I think that's a neat idea. Oh, yeah, because you're right, because you have to refocus. So, yeah, that's right. I guess, yeah, if there are no special abilities and no card effects that let you do that, 100%. So I know we haven't gotten into that yet, but you're right. Right now, it's either you play a card or refocus. Yeah, so I like that. That seems important. So one all by yourself. A bonus if you resolve one all by yourself. I mean, eventually, if we do start adding like action cards and stuff, then I would think it is possible. But maybe, yeah, if everything is just super simple and everything is just cards with symbols, you're that's right. Okay, I think let me edit this. So I'm going to drop voting out for now. Okay, so if it is, let me just think through the model super quick, because this is actually close to being a game that I'm able to describe to Sharon. So there is the central HQ card that gets rotated depending on which challenge card you want to focus on. The game starts, well, there's a timer in the game. And on your turn, you can draw a card. So let's say everybody starts with a hand of, I don't know, 4 cards or something like that. You know what? I'm gonna just write this into Gemini here. ADRA HQ. Yeah, I'll just start a new chat called ADRA HQ. Let's see. Game called ADRA HQ. I'll describe the components and rules we have so far. into a description, into a concise description of the game and the beginning of creating a rule set. Okay, so it's a 1. Ooh, is it a 1 to 4 player game? 4 player game, cooperative, card based. ADRA is a humanitarian org in this game is meant to illustrate. Here, let me switch this. The activities and values of the org. Okay. Cooperative, turn-based, real-time, card-based, setup. Oh wait, components. So challenge cards, player decks, challenge card deck maybe. Let's say, what's a nice, let's just say there are like 40 cards maybe, just as a complete shot in the dark. Player decks, let's say I don't know, 30 cards each. Maybe that's too many for 4 players. I don't know, that might be okay. Okay, 1 HQ, ADRA HQ card, 1. I think that's it. The ADRA HQ card in the center of the table of the play area. Oriented, let's say north. Okay, place equal piles of challenge cards face up in the 4, let's say, quadrants surrounding the ADRA HQ. North, south, east, and west. Okay. Each player, their deck, face down, shuffled. All players draw 4 cards of the game. Okay. Player's turn. Draw a card or play up to 2 cards. Try card from your deck. Or play up to 2 cards. Playing cards. Oops. Stop. Okay, 1. Play a card to the let me say this card has an arrow that indicates its current focus. Okay. At the start of the game, the focus is north. Perfect. Play a card to a challenge card that shows matching that shows symbols matching the challenge card. 2. Discard a card to refocus the ADRA HQ card. And that means to spin, rotate the card, the ADRA HQ card, so that it is pointing to a different challenge card pile. Okay. Or 3, discard a card to, I'm just putting it in here for now, reconvene, which is, let's see, discard a card to reconvene. That means to flip over the ADRA HQ card. Oh, there needs to be a timer. Timer. A what? Let's say a 3 minute, no, 5 minute. 5 minute sand timer. 1. Okay, let's just try that. To begin. Oh. Objective. Clear all challenge cards before the timer runs out. I wonder if we should do, let's see, place equal piles face up around 5 cards per pile. No. Wait. Is it 5 cards per player? Um, 5 challenge cards per player. A 4-player game will have, no, it should be a number that is 4 challenge cards per player. That's probably not enough, I would guess. We'll have 20 cards divided into piles of 4. What if it's like 2 cards per player per pile? let's say, yeah, I'll try this. 3 challenge cards per player per pile. I don't know. A 4-player game will have, so there's always going to be 4 piles. That's the point. So 3 challenge cards per player per pile. So that would be 12. Wait, that's too many. Let's say 2 challenge cards per player per pile. So that's 8 per player. So that's 32 cards. Is that way too many? 1 challenge card per player per pile. So that'd be 16. Is that not enough? One challenge card. Oh, I probably don't need to do it this way, but it could be like for 4 players, it's 24 cards divided evenly for, yeah, let's not do it this way. Equal piles of challenge cards face up. The number of cards in each pile depends on player count. Let's do, oops. Let's do 1 player is, let's say 5 per pile. No, 4 per pile. 2 players. 5 per pile. Just keep going like this. 3 players, 6 per pile. So it's going from 16 to 20 to 24 to 28. And I guess this way, 7 per pile. Let's just make it a 5-player game, right? Why not? Maybe there's a good reason, but I'm gonna say 1 to 5 players. Eight per player, 8 per pile. Okay, let's just go with that for now. Did I already put the, so I have the objective, okay. Okay. Oh, I can go full screen? That's nice. Okay. This is components now. Components. Description. Descriptors, maybe? Descriptors. 1 to 5 player game, ages, let's say 7 and up. Cooperative, turn-based, real-time, card-based. Components. Maybe it should come with an app, honestly. So, oriented north, whatever north is. Yeah. Place equal piles of challenge cards face up around in the 4 face up in the 4 quadrants surrounding the ADRA HQ card, north, south, east, and west. The number of cards in each pile depends on player count, 1 player, etc. Give each player their deck face down, shuffled. Well, this is a problem now. That means 5 characters. Maybe that's, I can do 5 characters. Why not? Because each could have a specialty, whereas, what's going on here? Oh. Whereas there could be one that's just like a nice blend of everything. Okay, I've got about 30 minutes before our meeting. So this is, yeah, this is helpful. Player turn. Draw a card from your deck or play up to 2 cards. All players draw 4 cards at the start of the game. Give each player their deck face down shuffled. All players draw 4 cards at the start of their game. The player who, I don't know, last helped with, it doesn't matter. A random player goes first. Draw more than 1 card. Okay. Yeah, because you're playing up to 2, so to get 1 back would feel slow. So draw 2 cards. Let's just try this. Draw 2 cards from your deck or play up to 2 cards. Play a card from your hand to a challenge card that shows symbols matching the challenge card. Okay. Discard a card to refocus the ADRA HQ card. Rotate the ADRA HQ card so that it points to a different challenge card pile. Draw up to hand size. But the thing is, that's one, if we do this whole flip over ADRA HQ and pause, then that's what would happen. You draw, or that's one benefit of doing this, is to draw back up to 5. Yeah, it depends on how much pressure they should feel to want to flip over ADRA HQ. So discard a card to reconvene. Let's see. Discard a card to refocus, which is just to rotate the ADRA HQ card, and then discard a card to reconvene. Flip over the ADRA HQ card, pause the time, draw back up to hand size, to starting hand size. Play continues. Discuss a plan, maybe. Time and play continues when the next player flips the ADRA HQ card back over and takes their turn as usual. The game ends when either the time runs out or all challenge cards have been completed. Oh, wait. Turn cleanup. If all if players have played cards to a challenge card such that all of the cards if players have played cards to a challenge card such that all of the symbols, such that the played cards show symbols, I don't know how to say this, this is very awkward. Show symbols matching the symbols in type and number on the challenge card, that challenge is completed, right? At the end of a player's turn, that player will remove the played cards and the challenge card from the game. Is it annoying to hear my typing? Is that like irritating? This reveals a new challenge card. Ooh, what if the bonus? I like your Grand Slam idea. Let's see. If the challenge card was completed on one turn by one player, that player can complete, let's try Mike, can complete any available challenge card. Any one additional available challenge card. So available meaning face up. It could be that, let's see, I think you need to stipulate that a player can play more than 2 cards in a turn if they can completely fulfill the card. What about refocusing for free? What if that's it? So maybe not playing more cards, but maybe refocusing for free. Yeah, I agree. I mean, empty to full by one player. That maybe the language isn't clear, but that's what I was thinking. That was my understanding from your idea of Grand Slam. So if where did I put it? If the challenge card was completed on one turn by one player, by the active player, let me just put it that way, by the active player, that player can complete, this is now the question. If the challenge card was completed on one turn by the active player, so this is, yeah, the language is not clear, was started and completed, right? Completed on one turn by the active player, that player can complete any one additional available challenge card, available meaning face up. Or is that too strong? We could just say that player may refocus for free. Yeah. Oh, that's so by complete, you're saying you are understanding to play another card, right? What I was saying is just like gets to just destroy that challenge card. But I kind of like But you don't have a rule. A player can play more than 2 cards if they match all 5 symbols from cards. I don't actually know what that means. All 5 symbols from cards in their hand. Because the challenge cards are not all going to be 5 symbols, first of all. Some are going to have 2, some are going to have 7, some are going to have 4. Right? Because the cards that players play also have a range of icons on them. They might have 2 icons. They might have 2 of the same. They might have 2 different. They might have 4 icons on them. So the players themselves are going to have some cards that are stronger and weaker. And the challenges are going to be stronger and weaker. Or easier and more difficult. I'm not sure I'm following you on what's missing. The main thing is you don't have a rule saying it can happen. Wait. If the challenge card was started and completed on 1 turn by the active player. Isn't this what you're talking about? If the challenge card was started and completed on 1 turn by the active player. So completed. Completed means if the players have played cards to a challenge card such that the played card shows symbols matching the symbols in type and number on the challenge card, that challenge is completed. The played cards show symbols. And at the end of the turn, okay, the active player. This is all not language that would be in the rule book. I'm just clarifying it for myself to be able to talk about it. Going its way. In your current rules, it's saying if they start and complete a challenge with the 2 cards they play, it was suggesting they can play unlimited cards if they can fulfill a card. I was suggesting. Oh. Yeah, I kind of don't think so. I mean, wait a minute. So the way I was describing that they could complete an extra card is just remove another card from the game. Maybe that's too strong. I'm not sure about that they can play any number of cards. That's also interesting. The other thing that I think would be easier is that they could refocus for free. I kind of want to just let it be that. Because it might actually be fairly easy. Yeah, I'm not sure where we're talking past each other. I'm not, yeah, I'm definitely not following what you're saying then. Are you still talking about the, I was suggesting they can play unlimited cards if they can fulfill a card. And you're still talking specifically about the Grand Slam idea, right? If they can fulfill a card themselves on their turn from empty to completed. Then they can play any number of cards. But they still have to refocus. They still have to refocus. Or you're saying that they can ignore the rule about refocusing. There's a challenge card with 6 empty icons. I can complete that challenge right away with a combination of 4 cards in my hand. So I can play all... Right. And you're still saying it's conditioned upon whether or not I can complete the card. See, I think it might be slightly simpler. Well, for sure it's simpler if the focus is just on getting as many symbols out as you can with your 2 cards, and then everybody else is helping you work on those cards, which I think, this being a cooperative game, I think that might be better, that you can't just like dump a whole bunch of cards on a card to complete it, but that it has to be done step by step by the table, or that it's more, is so that it's more likely to be done by more than one person. I think it should be unusual that it's done by one person. Does that make sense? Like, it should be a big deal. It should be really special if with your 2 cards, you just happen, the HQ just happened to be focused. HQ happened to be focused on the right card at the right time. I had the 2 cards to complete the thing, right? That should be like a cool moment, and rare. I think rare. We're still just kind of spitballing here, so I definitely don't mind at all writing down, you know, there's something that we should be able to play. A Grand Slam option. A player starts and completes a challenge on their turn. Well, if the player has the symbols, I'm still not 100% sure I'm understanding what you're saying, but I'm going to write it here and check my comprehension. If the player has the symbols on cards in their hand to complete a challenge card in focus, they may play any number of cards. Right, so this is sort of like pre-Grand Slam. It's like in the process of completing a card, if you can do it all. So yeah, it'd be a big moment if one player was able to just knock out one for everyone. And the tension would be that they were down to like 1 or 0 cards now, while maybe it's not a good time. Oh, yeah, if there were ways to drain your hand. Well, I think, I kind of like what you were saying before, I think players' hands are going to get drained pretty fast. So that's why it kind of makes sense to me to at least be able to draw as many as you can play. Actually, it kind of makes me want to go back to draw 1 or play up to 2. So that players' hands are definitely shrinking. Like they're netting -1 cards, potentially, right? If they play both. I think because I like this tension you're describing, but I think it should show up more regularly, just in general, in the sense that our hands are going to be depleted over time, and so we're going to need to go to HQ. But how soon are we going to do that? Should we do it on my turn? Should we do it on your turn? I don't mind the idea of dropping a bomb. Like, I'm discarding all of my cards to do this. In fact, that could be an ability, right? That could be somebody's character ability or something. Okay, I've got 15 minutes before this meeting, so I think I'm going to wrap up here. Mike, this has been awesome. And yeah, it's been really fun, working on these with you, and helpful as well. So I'll have, I'll at least have something to talk about with Sharon as far as an idea. I'm going to, I'm just for simplicity's sake. Well, let me I'll move this into notes here. This one. Another option. So I'm going to, just for now, I'm going to put that player can refocus for free. Just for simplicity's sake. Do I knock this out? I do like that. I do think it's a nice idea. That's why I'm just going to leave a note there. Yeah, this would create a tension around choosing whether or not to deplete your hand completely, forcing a visit to HQ. Oh, wait. Because if they have no cards, then you must go to HQ. Yeah. No, they draw a card. What am I saying? They draw a card. But, oh, yeah. But the problem is, then there are more dead turns right there, right? Because you might want a way to flip HQ without. So draw one card. I don't think you need to discard a card. Probably not. Draw one card from your deck. Play up to 2 cards. Play up to 2 cards, or let me say visit HQ or whatever. Maybe that's a little easier. Or visit HQ. So draw a card. Wait, why would you ever draw a card then? Yeah, that's right. Why would you ever draw a card? You would just constantly be going back to HQ. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. But what if you, so if you have no cards, you just have to draw one. And that would be like, draw one card from your deck, or we'll stick with that for now, because I think you're right. That creates some issues. I'll just say visit HQ. To visit HQ. When either the time runs out, a player has emptied their draw pile and needs to draw a card on their turn, or all challenge cards. Could you add cards to the challenge piles for visiting HQ? I doubt there'd be a clean way of doing that. Right, okay, so you're wanting more of a drawback. You're wanting more of a drawback. Okay, I do need to transition away. Looks like I have another thing to look at as well. But this has been helpful. So thanks very much. You're taking time to reconnect. Okay. Or the game just doesn't pause. I don't know that we need to be too punishing here, honestly. But you're just talking about wondering why players... Yeah, maybe the time doesn't pause. That would just be their full turn, right? So yeah, I'll take pause timeout for now. Flip over the ADRA HQ card, draw back up to starting hand size, discuss a plan. And draw back up to starting hand size. Play continues. Yeah, so something is missing here, but I'm okay with that for now. Something is definitely missing. Anyway, I'm just going to feed Gemini these ideas. Okay, this is it for sure, officially. So again, thanks a lot for your time and input, and I will see you soon. Have a good one.